This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2, I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
It is Monday. No surprise that Kolpack would join us even live on location here at the Shack as warm-ups are getting ready. We're just under an hour away.
It's that
Start of a new basketball season. The Bison women take it on Drake. This is we've done breakfast with the Bison before with football. We haven't done it with basketball. This is a neat way to start the year.
This is so odd being next to you like this in this segment. Where do I look?
You prefer to
Camera?
look? Yeah, you look at the camera. You look at me. Whatever you.
You know, today's already been a huge success in that I've had my car 7-8 years.
Yeah.
I finally switched the clock without looking at the manual.
You're trending upward. Then things can only get better from there.
Wow.
Right?
Jeez.
This is a neat idea. Jory Collins told me earlier that when they went to Des Moines last year, they had 6,000 kids there, something they've done forever. They're going to have about 500 in the stands today. Could be the start of a new tradition with Bison women's hoops.
Yeah, maybe. He said last year at Drake, it drove him. He goes, it was annoying as hell, his word. Yeah, just, why not? Try something different
Right?
in marketing, and one of our criticisms, I think, of this athletic department over the years is they've always done things because that's the way they've always done things. Yep. And so why not change it up a little bit and do something different? They got the DJ going now and doing some different stuff during games, marketing, doing ticket packages. I think that's what you have to do in this day and age of there's a lot of options here. Hopefully there will be more options when that dome passes tomorrow. Let's hope for that.
On that. This Drake team coming in, by the way, is no slouch, Kolpack. They won 26 games last year. They went to the NCAA tournament. They're not easing into the schedule to open up the new year here.
Yeah, Bison football fans, don't be lulled into thinking that this is a football program type of thing. Basketball is their deal. Yeah. And I go back to Ray Giacoletti when he went from NDSU, and then did he go to Drake right away? I can't remember if he went to Drake or he ended up there. But it's a basketball school. Yeah. It's Des Moines a pretty good area to recruit to. It's a nice city, and so when you're a small private school like that, you can be good in a sport that doesn't take 100 kids.
Also, I'll just throw this out. Drake's pretty good in football this year again. We saw them last year. They're having a dynamite year again to likely win the Pioneer
for the Pioneer,
football
for sure.
No doubt about that. Speaking of football, we got our up close and look at Northern Iowa. The Bison did what we thought would happen on Saturday. But boy, Northern Iowa, Jeff, it's not good right now. I don't know what's going to happen down in Cedar Falls.
Yeah, my headline was that they're dudeless.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They had no dudes on the defensive line. When they've had over the years a bunch. They've always had good skill players. Didn't really see a whole lot of team speed. You saw that show up on special teams when the Bison just had better athletes out there. And it's just, I don't know what's going to happen. Mark Farley's got 2 years left on his contract. If you're a staunch UNI supporter, you cannot be happy the way things are trending. No. You just can't.
There's no chance that they buy him out, do they? You mentioned it's 2 years, and the way that Northern Iowa financially sits, that would seem stunning to me.
According to the Knight Commission and in its report on college football budgets, Northern Iowa spends the least amount on football in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. That's less than Indiana State. That's less than Murray State. It's half of what NDSU. It's almost 35% of what South Dakota State spends on football.
Yeah, it's coming home to roost. You could see it.
It's catching up to them. And you could say what you want about Mark Farley, buy him out and everything else. Maybe he's done more with less over the years.
They've overachieved with what the resources they've had. Maybe there's probably something to that. But where do they go from here? Because they're the other school, the Dakota schools aren't going backwards. We can comment about UND in our next segment. But when you look at what South Dakota State, North Dakota State, they're not coming back. They're going this way. And it's on Northern Iowa to try and chase it down.
And I see where Northern Iowa is trying to get together a plan to renovate their UNI dome.
Yeah, the Unidome.
And hopefully maybe they could do something there. I think new stands on one side and suite boxes and all
They're
that.
trying that. Yep.
But yeah, on the field, it's dramatic, and obviously they're losing the recruiting battles in the cities and some of these areas where they probably used to, certainly before NDSU,
No doubt.
clean up there, and then NDSU kind of figured out how to beat them in those circles. Now they're losing to South Dakota.
They're losing to UND too in the cities on
right.
that. Bryce Lance found the end zone again, his 9th receiving touchdown, now tied for 3rd for the most in a single season in Bison history. That touchdown catch was on SportsCenter. It was the top 7 play, I want to say, on Saturday night. He just keeps making plays.
And was it his hand that got down
his hand
first?
was in bounds.
That's just such instinct and athleticism, and it's just a crime almost that he's a junior, and we're seeing it for the first time. Maybe he's just growing up too. I mean,
maybe.
But yeah, that was NFL material right there.
That's what I asked him after the game, and Kyle Emanuel said it on our broadcast. So one hand equals 2 feet. You'll watch the replay of this, and we got a great shot of it.
I got to see this right here.
Right there. His hand is in bounds. It's just a fabulous play.
Good thing he didn't break his wrist.
Right. I mean, he went out, he made a couple more catches. He's become Cam Miller's go-to guy. He made another catch to start the second half after the Bison got the ball back and set up Marika Pettis' touchdown.
I thought that 42-yarder was equally as impressive because he shielded the D-back, and all the while he sort of brought it in with one hand and then grabbed it with two.
Yep.
Just such instinctual and great play.
That's the kind of, we asked, you and I talked about this for about 6 weeks before the season began. Of who's going to be the Bison defense?
Yeah, Eli,
who's going to be the, there you go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't missed a beat.
No. And when Eli left, you thought, okay, yeah, who's going to do the job here?
Right.
And Bison don't miss him at all.
No. They've been so good on that outside. The other part they've been really good at, and this goes back to the Harkin teams of the early run of 2011, 2012, is forcing turnovers and hanging out of the ball. They forced 2 more. Their plus-minus now is at plus 16, which is the best in the FCS. They've just been ball hawks, and they were again on Saturday.
And I think that's a testament to getting better athletes out there and better explosiveness. Because, as we've said all year, turnovers, they just don't happen by accident. They're not gifts. You got to earn them. You got to hit hard. You got to get to the spot. You got to put your helmet or punch the ball out.
And that play was exactly that. Toby Annetta came in, and Polisic said it was a violent play on the football.
You're not reaching for tackles. You're actually, watch this. Boom.
Right there.
He was in the spot. He put his 252 pounds and 6'4" frame to work, and that's how those things happen. Same with the interceptions. You got to be explosive enough, and you got to be smart enough to know where to go.
And that play by Sivamana there, he was like a rocket off the edge.
That was the worst play call I saw all Saturday right there.
That one there?
Because they ran the same play the one before. So that didn't work. Well, let's go right back to the same play. Yeah. Everybody's jammed in. How about faking it and doing something on the perimeter?
Can't say enough about what Sivamana has brought to this Bison defense. We asked him that after the game, and I asked Polisic as well. It seems like a different energy for what Enoch has brought, certainly in the last 2 games that he started.
He's got that Travis Beck, I think, quicks and explosiveness that we saw with number 52 all those years in the title years. And he's not as big as Travis, but man, he hits hard.
Yeah.
What was a tackle where they reviewed it for targeting?
Yes.
You know why?
No, he was
because it's such a hard tackle. I think the official's going, that had to be targeting.
His head jerked back, but he hit him with his shoulder.
Right.
We saw that right away in our first couple replays on that. Wait a minute, he hit him with his shoulder. It wasn't with his.
What's the team doing here? Are they doing some line dance, or is this warming up?
This is part of their pre-game warm up that they go through.
Looks like the shuffle,
stretching out their legs and all that good stuff. So now the bye week is here. The long-awaited bye week. Yeah. How big a deal is
huge?
It seemed like they needed this in the worst way.
But even more than that, what's Cole Wisniewski up to this week?
Right.
Is he going to come back? Is he going to give it a shot? I mean, these are all these things that I just, the coaches will be out recruiting. We'll probably maybe get a clue tomorrow if he wants to answer that question.
Yeah. We got to ask again. Yeah.
Oh, certainly we'll ask. Absolutely. And I'm sure we'll get the same answer that we'll see if he gets working with. And that's probably the correct answer, because I would guess maybe later this week, Jim Kramer will get Cole Wisniewski and put him through some football movements and see if he can do it.
I'm going to make a complete uneducated guess. I'm going to say first round of the playoffs, he's back.
Not in the regular season?
I don't think so. I think that might be a bridge too far because he hasn't done anything with Kramer yet. Now, if that changes this week, then I can maybe move up the timetable on that.
You're probably right.
I would think,
right.
just remember how, I'll say tentative Kolpack he was after the Achilles tear. We kept asking Matt Entz, when are we going to see him? And I think he may have been able to come back a couple weeks earlier than that. He chose not to. It was after a bye week that he came back to play. That right now, if the Bison win one more game, if they go 1-1, they're 10-2. They're a top 6 seed. They win everything. They're the number 1 seed. They're not leaving Fargo, but that other bye week before Thanksgiving is looming out there for a chance for another week to get healthy.
And so, yeah, you built that. You build that into the equation, which maybe they're doing that too. But you get him back.
Oh man,
that's a defense has been pretty good since the non-conference season, and that's coaching. I mean, they have just gotten better. They have gotten more physical. I want to say the run defense is certainly much better, and more than that, I think mentally better. I think they were just missing fits.
Certainly seemed it early in the season. That has not been the case.
Against East Tennessee.
Yeah. Even against Towson in the second half of that game. It has not been the case since Valley play happened there. But that would just be my uneducated guess on that on Wisniewski. But you look, Cam Miller said it, since he got hurt against UND, he looked at the calendar, how far out was the bye week? They got to that. Mason Miller was another guy that's been dinged up a bit. There's a lot of guys that have played 5 or 6 years of football. Add on the fact it's been 16 straight weeks. It's been a long time without a week off.
You remember how gippy I think Cam looked at Southern Illinois on that road game, and you wondered, okay, will he ever get healthy enough the rest of the year? Because ankles can linger. Sprained ankles can linger, but he seemed to have rallied from that the next week, and now it's not even a thought.
No, he ran, was it twice? At least once he ran,
well,
I know.
One was that quarterback draw.
Yeah.
And it was like, get down, Cam. Get down, Cam. and some guy got within like 3 yards.
I think he learned his lesson after what happened against UND. I'll just say, offensive line-wise has been so sharp there, even with the absence of the last 2 games of Griffin Empey. Jack Lewinsky, I don't think, has come in, and I don't think they missed a beat.
No.
Cam said it. You asked after the game. That was the most time he's had in 4 to 5 years as a quarterback. He had all day to throw.
It's almost like he looked bored back there.
A little bit.
It was like, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
He literally could do that. That one play, when they got the fumble recovery of the Crumby fumble right there at the 6 of the 8-yard line, that third down. He went here, then he went there. He had and still nobody got anywhere near him.
And
which goes to about the dudes you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that was Tim's quote, I don't think his feet were ever compromised.
Yes. He was off his spot. He was never off his spot.
There were no dudes to push the pile, to make him run. I don't even think he noticed him. He was like, Northern Iowa's got some, at least there's the portal, but defensive linemen in the portal, they're not exactly
They don't
prevalent.
grow on trees, not like that. We'll break, we come back, we'll chat about the other things that happened in the Valley this weekend. UND's stunning loss. Mo State keeps on winning. As we get even closer to Selection Sunday, we're just 3 weeks out from that. We're live at the Shack, 45 minutes away from the Bison and Welcome back, everybody. Live on location for our Monday morning edition of Hot Mic as we're closing in about 40 minutes away from tip-off of the new basketball season between Drake and North Dakota State. Back with Jeff Kolpack. So a couple other eye-opening results from the football weekend. Got to start what happened in Terre Haute. We were watching the game before the Bison kicked off against Northern Iowa, and Indiana State beats UND. And I know we've hit this for a while, and the people in Grand Forks would say, well, I can stop talking about the road deal. We can't, Jeff. They lost back-to-back weeks to teams with losing records in Youngstown and Indiana State.
Still in the playoff hunt. And that's
I don't know now.
Well, you got South Dakota and South
They got
Dakota
to win
State.
both those games.
Yeah, but
you got to win
I'm
them
still
both.
saying they're still there, but mystifying, I don't know. I'm assuming the coaching staff has tried everything under the sun. I'm assuming I would. It reminds me of that. There was a story of this high school team that was really good on the road and really bad at home.
Yeah.
So the coach got this team on a bus at home, would drive around town for half hour, and then get off, and apparently it worked.
7-26 since 2019. It was for the first time I saw, and you take it for what it's worth, on social media on Saturday night, with hardened UND fans saying, what are we doing? Are we good with, like, the 5-2 after the Bison game, and they beat Northern Iowa, thinking, all right, things are setting up to get to 8 wins. Now they have to do something special over the last 3 games of the season.
And I guess it's a couple things. You could probably say that maybe they're just not that good.
Yeah.
But the home field advantage is so striking that makes a difference. Or there's just something mentally on the road.
Correct. There's something. That's why I think it was interesting to see some of the, and I think more hardened Bubba defenders that say, this is the guy, that we're not saying that on Saturday night, to make me question, like, okay, maybe is there enough there? And I know they just gave Bubba extension. They're not going to make a move, anything like that. But what are they doing? Because they are world beaters. We saw them how they dismantled the Bison last year. They'll play the Jacks tough. I have no doubt about that Saturday. They'll give SDSU a great game, but they just looked overmatched defensively the last 2 weeks against Youngstown and Indiana State.
Yeah, the Indiana State back, Ples Lawrence, is that how you pronounce it? He looked like Barry Sanders a couple times.
Right.
Just speed. And
just kind of shake your head on that.
But the Bison beat Indiana State by, what, 3 or 4
yeah, it
last time
was
there?
A close game, but they won the football game.
They won,
found a way to win the game. Mo State keeps on winning. They ran over Southern Illinois. The Bears they got Murray State. They're not losing this coming weekend, so they're going to come to the Shack here in a couple, or to the Fargo Dome in a couple weeks, and they're going to be unbeaten.
Yeah, and it's going to be their playoffs.
Oh, man.
Because they're ineligible for the FCS postseason. Good quarterback, Jacob Clark, Minnesota transfer. NDSU has the bye, though, so at least they'll have that to rest up and prepare. You have 2 weeks to prepare now for this team. So, and the Bison have been historically good off the bye over the years. Well, that's because they've been good, for one thing. That helps. But especially they've been really good after a bye.
You see the rest of the standings. Illinois State is sitting there, Jeff. They're 6-3. They have a pathway to win 9 games. When we were in Normal at the end of September, like, man, this is not a good team.
That team is not,
They're going to be in the FCS playoffs. Even if they win 2 of their last 3, they're going to be in at 8-4.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, because the quarterback is average at best.
Tommy Rittenhouse is, yes,
he's
I would
average
agree
at
with
best.
that. Yep.
And really, if you look after the top 3 or top 4, name a good quarterback there.
Youngstown's guy's okay.
Yeah, he's a good runner.
Yeah, Burgard's okay.
Simon's had some moments.
Yep. Northern Iowa, I would say. Sheckelman, again, has some moments. Southern Illinois is going with a true freshman, and Murray State, no.
Yeah.
So, like we thought, the 3 teams that had experienced guys were going to be really good. They are. Now, Clark is impressed, as is all of Missouri State. Jacardier Wright, you're going to see him in a couple weeks. K-State transfer, he's the back for Mo State. That's going to be a load for the Bison.
He's been around a while. The
down.
Bison have handled him, though, since he's been at Missouri State. And I just don't see him being a difference maker at the Dome.
And then, obviously, we know the rest of the way here. South Dakota is off a bye. They have Indiana State in Vermillion. Of course, then they go to Grand Forks. We mentioned it, though. Mo State is going to have something to say in this Missouri Valley race, because they come to Fargo in 2 weeks, and then they end the season at home against the Jackrabbits.
Yep, and plaster. Get plastered, plaster field. Craig Bull hated that stadium.
Not like that place.
Oh, my goodness.
No. The Big Sky race, Biggie this weekend, Jeff. Davis goes to Missoula to take on Montana. That's a nationally televised game Saturday night at 9:15 to find out if Davis is for real. They're ranked 4th in the poll that just came out about 20 minutes ago. That they still have to play Montana and Montana State.
Montana State at home. Yeah. So that their season yet is still a lot to be determined. And I guess, as Montana State, you look at their schedule, what's their best win? Northern Arizona, maybe?
Maybe. Probably.
Yeah, there's nothing that really says, wow,
right
and that's why the committee ranked them, even though they have that FBS win, that, they're unbeaten. They haven't.
Yeah, they beat Idaho. That's probably their best win. They beat Idaho 28-26. I give that probably.
Okay, that's good.
And they lost their FBS game to Cal. Other than that, yeah, that's their best win by far.
But the week of the ranking, the playoff reveal last week, NDSU had beaten 6 teams ranked in the top 25.
Right.
on that week's poll.
I'll say this for Davis, though. They can make their resume. You're wondering who the fourth team is? It could be them. If they beat both Montana and Montana State, they're going to be the 4th seed.
I haven't
Maybe
seen
the
them play
3.
this year. Have you seen them play?
I've had a little bit. I'll be watching.
Okay.
Since the Bison aren't playing, I'll be watching that game Saturday night to see how good they are.
Here come the kids, Dom. Here come the kids.
They're falling in. They mentioned that's why we're playing basketball at this time of day. 2 other things. Vegan's team, Montana State, beats Eastern Washington. They're still unbeaten with the game with Davis looming and then the Brawl of the Wild game setting up for them to potentially be unbeaten.
Again, it wasn't really a beatdown of Eastern Washington.
No,
that was a game going.
They played hard. I will say that. Eastern's played hard for Aaron Best this season. They haven't won many games, but they played hard.
Well, good for them. That's the program still is a shell. You talk about Northern Iowa. Eastern has equally fallen from what they used to be.
2 other things here before we go. 2 head-scratching losses this weekend. Central Arkansas lost to Utah Tech.
Winless. Utah Tech.
Winless. We thought Central Arkansas was a top. I did. I don't know about you. I thought they were a top 8 team.
Yeah.
You don't lose to a winless team.
Well,
and wasn't close.
That's probably going to take care of Shunderic Paul's.
I would agree with that. On his
Walter Payton Award.
Candidacy, I would say it's probably over
I just
there.
think Cam Miller has solidified himself for that award. I think Marty Brown solidified himself.
He's on again. He's the newcomer of the week again in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. And then the other one was Tarleton State. They lost as well to Eastern Kentucky. Those are 2 teams that I thought would potentially have Thanksgiving off. They're going to be playing on Thanksgiving now because they still have to play one another in the final week of the season.
Don't schedule a team with Dakota in it. Was that Pat McAfee's line this year?
It was Matt Rule's line. They got picked up.
Something like that.
That's the intriguing part on that. As we have 2 weeks to go before Selection Sunday, it's all in front of the Bison though right now. That's to me. And I'll throw this at you because we mentioned it briefly on bracketology before you go. If the Coyotes beat the Bison, how do you seed that if you're on the committee come Selection Sunday?
Wow, that's
because the Bison have beaten the Jacks and the Jacks beat the Coyotes.
you stumped me there on that one. I'd have to think about that.
So how much do you value head-to-head? Is that the ultimate deal? Because if it is,
certainly it's got to be. Yep.
So then South Dakota would have it on the Bison.
But then South Dakota will have 1 less game.
That's the thing.
Because of the Portland cancellation.
And they played Northern State.
So
I think that has to come into it.
South Dakota. NDSU, I still think the Bison have them too.
Be the 2
NDSU,
seed?
South Dakota State.
I said that Friday. I think there'd be some legitimacy to that.
Plus, South Dakota played a D2.
Correct. And so did South Dakota State.
Yeah, so there you go.
It should be held
That's
against
my
you.
answer.
It
should be. Yeah.
Thanks for coming by. Enjoy the game today, all right? We're doing hoops.
Okay,
we got hoops coming up.
Can you tell me what
you know what's
some
going
of
on?
the rules of this game?
Jeff Kolpack joins us each and every Monday, joining us here live on location. We come back, our final segment, the Hall of Famer is coming in. Amy Rulli will join us to chat about women's hoops and preview this upcoming Bison basketball season. Our final segment of Hot Mike before we get ready for Drake at NDSU after this.